Welcome to In Pursuit with Pastor Bill.
Hey, I'm just a simple guy in pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, wild game, fish that swim under the ice, tender smoked meat, tasty grilled meat, and Denise.
In this hour, we are going to be talking about all of that and a whole lot more. Bill has been with Maranatha since 2005 and the campus pastor at Maranatha Chisago Lakes campus since 2011. Come along and join In Pursuit.
Well, here we go.
Here we go.
Welcome, everybody that is out there listening. It is such a treat. This is our very first live show of In Pursuit.
So exciting.
It is very exciting. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to doing this every week.
Yeah.
Those of you listening, you can find us here every Thursday from noon to 1. If you're able to listen on the radio, 88.1 and 91.7 FM. Otherwise, you can listen live on yourliferadio.com. Now, before I introduce everybody that's with us here, I have a favor to ask those of you that might be listening live. Just because this is our very first live show, if you're listening, I have my cell phone in the booth with me that's muted, but if you're listening and you have my number, if you'd send me a text, we would just love to know that you're listening. Or if you don't have my cell phone number or Denise's, sending an email. I also have my email, bill@realchurch.org, opened up on my phone, and you could shoot me an email, and we would just kind of love to have a little fun and interact with whoever might be listening live today.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. If you happen to be listening later, because again, you'll be able to find this on all kinds of different podcast sites and also on YouTube. I want to invite you, if you're listening to this later, go ahead and send me an email, bill@realchurch.org, and it would just be fun to know that you are listening. So obviously, I am joined here by my lovely wife, Denise.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's a good day.
It is a good day.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Sun shining.
It is. That it is, and it's good to have the sun shining.
It is.
Yeah. We're also joined by an amazing technical team. We have James, who is at the board and on the mic today. How you doing today, James?
Hello, I'm good.
Yeah?
Yes.
Good. Are you excited about this whole journey that we're on together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're excited about it as well.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet.
We're also joined by Alice and Shane. They both are learning and getting to know the whole board and the program and everything as well. So we have an amazing little team here from our Chisago Lakes campus, and we're very excited about that.
Yeah, it's a good team.
Yeah, it is a good team. I want to take a minute today, kind of in this first segment, and I want to talk about what the show is really going to be about. Because our desire is that you would be entertained, obviously, but along with being entertained, we would like to bring a bit of a message or a challenge or an encouragement, something that we can learn from that kind of comes from our life experience.
Yeah, to deepen you somehow.
Yeah.
Enrich you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to challenge people. I love to challenge people.
Yes,
and so I'm going to do my very best to have fun and not just always get right to business and serious stuff. So I'm going to do my very, very best to do that. We're also going to have every one of our shows, we're going to have you do what we're calling the Word of the Week.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. We'll do that right before our bottom of the hour break. Yeah. So Denise is going to help us all learn new words over the course of this show. So we're calling this show In Pursuit. And as you heard in the introduction, we listed off all of the different things that we are in pursuit of. And it's really just this, like that's what we're going to use as our base or basis for these different areas where we're going to be challenged. One of the first things we talked about is that we're in pursuit of truth. And in this day and age that we're living, especially right now, I mean, and it's so fun to be live because we can talk a little bit about stuff that's actually going on. And, there's just so much stuff out there.
Yes.
That you really have no idea what you can believe. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like in every area, it doesn't matter. I remember in one of the messages we did probably a few months ago now, I was talking about how they're like, if you were to look up on YouTube how to do anything, you would find a gazillion different opinions on what the right way is to do that one thing.
Right.
And like when I look up on YouTube, like, how do you do this? Like chickens. The journey that we were on this fall, trying to figure out how in the world we were going to keep our chickens safe
And alive.
over the winter.
Yeah.
It was crazy, all the differing opinions, like, what to feed them, even right down to the heating thing. The heating thing is an unbelievably heated debate.
It is. Do you heat the coop? Do you not heat the coop? Are you a bad chicken owner if you heat the coop? Are you a bad chicken owner if you don't heat the coop?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to be bad chicken owners.
We don't. No, not at all. And if you were to, like, we belong on Facebook to a, I don't know, it's like a chicken coop
Chicken coop.
page. I'm a little embarrassed that I just said that now. But it's a chicken coop.
I'm the one that joined the group.
Yeah.
You don't have to be embarrassed.
I just got a little distracted by people listening. You guys are funny. James and Shane and Alice all texted me that they're listening. But hey, Robin Bjornson's listening, and Cindy Noble, our children's pastor at the Chisago Lakes camp, is listening, and Megan Erke is listening. So that's super exciting. I love hearing that you guys are listening. Thanks for tuning in with us. I got an email from Char Lola that she is listening through the link in Odessa, Minnesota.
Oh, my.
That's very cool.
That's cool.
Thanks for emailing. And you guys, thanks for texting. Keep them coming. I'm going to try not to get too distracted, but that's a pretty fun thing. Mm-hmm. Makes this day even that much more exciting. Right, guys?
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
they're all nodding their heads.
Yep. I speak for all of us.
Oh, Jenny Gaskill texted she's going to listen later because there's not enough headphones here in the booth. That's awesome. So just the whole idea of like that chicken coop Facebook page, back to that.
Yeah.
The like if you were to say on there that you have a heat lamp in your chicken coop, people go crazy.
Yeah.
Because of all of the coops that are burned down and houses and garages and barns and everything that's burnt down because of it.
And when I was young, that's what my dad heated the chicken coop with, was the heat lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just one more of those things where it's like you put the question out, what's the safest thing? What's the best thing to do? And you get a gazillion different opinions. And so one of the things that I'm in pursuit of is just simply the truth. I want the truth. And obviously something like the chickens is no big deal. But even if you look at right now, all of the stuff going on politically, it's like, it drives me crazy. Why can't can we ever just hear the truth?
No.
Yeah. That's it.
I mean, apparently the answer is no.
The bubble was burst just then, shattered. I think you're right. And it's, but yet it's something that I'm in pursuit of. You know, what's the truth? You know?
Yeah. Well, if you don't pursue that, you're just kind of giving up.
Yeah.
You're just laying down and letting whatever happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah.
But it's so frustrating to be looking for the truth and not be able to find it.
Well, and that's where, we'll get to it later.
Politically.
But you want wisdom. Well, politically, yeah. Politically, it's like, how in the world would you ever even believe that what you're getting to is the truth? That's a funny video, Robin. Robin Bjornson sent a video of a chicken running through a gate. that's with tiny little hands waving. Now it's creepy that I looked at it a little closer. So we're in pursuit of truth, even when it comes to faith.
Yes.
Right now, I probably won't say this here. I mentioned it this last weekend in the message, but there is even within the church, there's messages out there that are saying that there's all different kinds of ways to get to heaven. Mm-hmm. That all the religions out there basically bring us to the same God. And that to me is the one thing, like I don't know that I'll ever discover a whole lot of absolute truth in life.
Yeah.
But this is the one thing I believe to be true, that the only way that we are saved is through Jesus Christ. And that's it.
Yes.
And again, that's the truth that we want to be in pursuit of, is understanding and knowing the truth, especially God's truth.
Right.
Yeah. The other things that we're in pursuit of during this show is knowledge.
Knowledge.
Yeah. I started reading. It's probably been a year or two now where I really started reading. And I've read, I don't know how many books I've read, a lot of books.
67,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot of books.
Yeah.
It's not 67,000.
It's not, but it feels like it though.
It's a lot of books.
And there's some of them where I've just eaten them up. Other ones, they've taken a little longer, but I really want to just gain that knowledge, studying the Bible, studying commentaries from different perspectives, and just reading about leadership, and reading about life, and reading about being physically healthier, all of these different things, just trying to gain knowledge, because honestly, I believe that helps us get to the truth as well.
Yes, it does.
So, yeah, we're going to talk about that kind of stuff. I'm going to be bringing a bunch of different book titles and books. We're actually in our second segment today going to be talking about one of the books that I've read and how it kind of relates to being pursued or in pursuit of. But the other thing we're going to talk about, we're in pursuit of wisdom. I really want to learn more and more and more how to handle difficult situations, because it just seems like, and even like today now, this morning, a bit of a funky morning, because there's just difficult situations that arise for one reason or another, and I just always want, like, Lord, I just want wisdom. I just want wisdom, like a Solomon kind of wisdom.
Yes.
To just navigate and handle life's difficult situations.
You have some pretty weird situations that come to you in your position. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's life. I think everybody does in one way or another. I really am seriously in pursuit of that wisdom, to take that knowledge, because I think wisdom is the application of the knowledge. And now what do I do with this? And I wrote this down because I think it's so great. But what's your example of wisdom versus knowledge? Do you remember that?
I remember it.
Okay.
Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
Yeah, and that's what we're in pursuit of, is that application of the things that we know. And I think that's just a cute and very understandable example of wisdom and knowledge. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's not going to be always all serious like that kind of stuff. We also want to talk about being in pursuit of wild game. I love to bow hunt deer, whitetail deer locally, and I've only been out a couple times. I hope to go back, but out in Montana, bow hunting elk.
Yes.
And so in pursuit of these different big games, and there's some of these guys that, we have a bunch of guys from our church that hunt, a few that hunt very intentionally and passionately out west. So these are like, go spend a month in the mountains hiking around type hunters.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to have some of these guys on. Mike Veerling, a guy that comes to our church, he's a guy that, the one who's brought me out west with him a couple times. I'm very much excited to have him be on our show with us and talk about pursuing elk, but also his growth in his faith, because that's been a tremendous journey to watch.
Yes. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're in pursuit of big game. We're also in pursuit of fish, specifically fish that swim under the ice.
They're so good.
Because I like ice fishing.
They taste so good.
They do taste good.
Yeah.
We have some crappies in the freezer, actually, from a little hole we found on a lake that will remain unnamed, James.
Unnamed.
Not telling you where that's at. I do have high hopes, now that we're live especially, I have high hopes that Eskimo is going to become one of our sponsors. Because I have an Eskimo hub house, the fish house, and we actually have two of them.
It works great.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so they're very, very, they're very cool. We have a Markham fish finder and a Markham underwater camera. So another sponsor there.
Hey, you're not getting paid yet. Slow down.
And you can find all of these at your local Shields departments. No, James is just shaking his head like, nope, getting ahead of yourself there. But we're going to talk about that kind of stuff, outdoorsy kind of stuff. We love to hike, and I love shooting and fishing. Just being in pursuit of these things. And actually, in an upcoming show here, I already have in my notes that we're going to be talking about the importance of enjoying life and doing those things that you love to do.
Yeah.
You know, being willing to put the effort and the energy into doing them.
Right.
I also, very intentionally in this title, we didn't say that we're in pursuit of God.
Yeah.
Because as believers, I believe we already have that relationship. We've found God. We're not looking for God. We don't have to try and find God, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But we are definitely in pursuit of a deeper relationship with God.
That's a good qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we'll be talking a lot about, because it's just such an important part of our life, and pretty much any guest we have on here, it's going to be a part of their life, I would assume. And so I just see that being just kind of woven into everything we talked about, is our pursuit of a deeper relationship with God.
So important.
Yeah, it is. Pastor Mike talks about an Oswald Chambers quote all the time. And I just love it. It's come up in some of our messages because I've heard it around here at the Forest Lake campus so much. But this quote from Oswald Chambers, he says, the most important aspect of Christianity is not the work that you do, but the relationship you maintain and the atmosphere that comes out of that relationship.
That's a good quote.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a very good quote, and maintaining that relationship. So again, in coming weeks, months, maybe years, we're going to be talking about all of this kind of stuff, but we're also going to talk about relationships, because like you said in the intro, like I said in the intro, I'm also in pursuit of you.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I had a meeting last night with a young couple that's going to be getting married in September. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I told this young couple was the importance of intimacy. Mm-hmm. But my conversation with them, it wasn't about sexual intimacy. It was emotional intimacy.
Yes.
And the importance of really desiring to know your partner, to know your spouse, the one that you're with, and to take conversations, to take emotions, everything beyond the superficial into the deeper conversations of, like, what makes you tick? Why are you the way you are today? And that's the kind of stuff, like, I'm very much looking forward to doing these shows, which will turn into podcasts, talking about real life relationship stuff.
Yeah.
Because we bring a lot to our relationship.
We both brought so much to our relationship.
Yeah, we did.
But and it's so good.
And it's wonderful. Yeah. Not perfect.
No.
But the way we navigate the difficulties, it works out. And I think that part of that is because of the difficulties we've had, and part of it is truly because we're in pursuit of this.
Yeah. We haven't just slid through.
Right. Yeah.
We work at it. Yep.
Yeah. You can't just put it on autopilot and say, okay, we're just going to be okay now. There takes a level of intentionality and focus and time and all of these different things that really need to be applied. So that, you guys, I just wanted to take a time in this first segment, and I just wanted to kind of, in a nutshell, sum up what we're going to be talking about in coming shows, coming weeks and months, obviously. And I hope that from week to week, you as the listener, whether you're live or listening later on one of the podcast sites, I hope that you're able to take something away from this hour that we spend with you, because that's really the desire. As we make notes, we're really praying that the Lord encourages you, or like I said, even challenges you in some way in your life.
Yes.
it's going to be an exciting time.
It is.
Yeah. And I'm very excited. So this is the first time live that we are going to be doing the Word of the Week. And what I want you all to listen to is listen to this introduction to the Word of the Week, because you have to know that this is Denise.
I'm not sure they needed to know that.
This is Denise in this introduction. So right now, right before we take our bottom of the hour break, let's go ahead and listen to this very first live edition of the Word of the Week.
Word of the Week. This is the part of the show where Denise and Bill learn new words in pursuit of knowledge and understanding of the English language, and so they can sound smarter. Welcome to Word of the Week. This Word of the Week segment comes from actually my childhood. I wanted to bring this because at the dinner table, if my dad had experienced a new word, encountered a new word, he would bring that word to the table, and all of us kids would learn this new word. And so he expanded our vocabularies, and it gave me a love of words. And so
You do love words.
I do love words.
Yeah.
I love words. And if I don't know a word, I'll look it up, even like in the middle of the conversation. I'll be just like, oh, I got to know that word.
Stops dead in her tracks.
Dead in my tracks.
Got to know that word.
So one of the words I remember from the dinner table is the first word I'm going to bring to you, and it's quintessential. The definition of quintessential is of or relating to the most perfect embodiment of something. The dictionary gives a sentence. It says, Jerry's your quintessential streetwise New Yorker. So that's it's a fun word to use. And the history of the word, which is it's fascinating to me, is the philosophers and scientists of the ancient world and the Middle Ages believed that the world we inhabit was entirely made up of 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Aristotle added a 5th element, the aether or ether, by which he meant the material that fills the rest of space, mostly invisible but sometimes taking the form of stars and planets. In the Middle Ages, it was referred as the quinta essentia, or the 5th element. It isn't surprising that the quinta essentia came to stand for anything so perfect that it seemed to surpass the limitations of Earth. And today, we generally use quintessential rather freely to describe just about anything that represents the best of its kind. So, the quintessential was first used in 1551, which I don't know how they know that kind of stuff, because that's so far back. But it was first used in 1551. And we have to use our new word, or we lose our new word.
Absolutely.
And so I'd like to use my new word, or this new word, in a sentence. Here's my sentence. Bill is the quintessential hunter, with his hunting clothes, his bow, his blind, his rangefinder, and his puffy wind dust. Bill is the quintessential hunter.
His what? His puffy?
The puffy wind dust. You know that little bottle?
Yeah, the wind checker. That's right. That's awesome that you remember that.
What's it called? Puffy wind dust?
Where it is now. I'll bet you Eskimo and Shields and Markham are going to start selling it that way.
Selling puffy wind dust. Yeah. It checks the thermals going up and down the mountain, right?
Exactly.
I am the wife of the quintessential hunter.
You're the quintessential hunter's wife.
There you go. There you used it in a sentence. We both have. Yeah. So use your word of the week so that you don't lose it. And that is our word of the week.
You're listening to In Pursuit with me, Pastor Bill, a production of WAJC, Your Life Radio on 88.1 and 91.7 FM. WAJC is owned and operated by Maranatha Assembly of God in Forest Lake, Minnesota. If you would like to visit Maranatha Chisago Lakes campus, we have 4 weekend services to choose from. Visit maranathachisago.org to learn more and to check out some past messages. Well, welcome back to segment number 2 of live show number 1.
Wow.
Yeah. That was fun. That was good. Now we get to do it again. The second half. Yeah. I like it. It's amazing how fast this time goes.
It does go really fast.
Yeah. All right, so now we talked about the different things that we are in pursuit of, but I want to change gears a little bit right now because I want to talk about a book that I read a few months ago. It's probably been a little bit longer even than that, and I'm telling you, man, I loved reading this book.
You did. You devoured it in 2 days.
I did. Yeah.
And that's all while holding a job.
Yeah.
It was morning and evening and
yeah.
But
it's just a really good book, I think, because it's kind of a story of somebody's life, and it has to do with God, and those are two things that I just love hearing about. So I want to tell you guys about this book a little bit. This book is called Running Scared, and it's written by Robert Leon Davis. Now, I always have to do a disclaimer. I don't know anything else about this guy. I haven't been on his YouTube channel, his Facebook page. I don't know if he's written other books or anything like that. So please, as I talk about this book, don't take this as an endorsement that, hey, this guy should be your role model, because I don't know if he should or shouldn't be, but I know that this book is in my opinion, it's just an outstanding book. It has to do with the fact that God pursues you. Mm-hmm. And this is, if you're listening today, or at a later date, maybe if you're listening, even share this with somebody that could benefit from this. But here's the deal. We have to remember that God pursues us, especially and even in our brokenness and in our dysfunctionality.
Yes.
God pursues us. And I think for a lot of people there can be this feeling like, well, I've made too many mistakes, I've screwed too much stuff up, and God just doesn't really want anything to do with me. And
I think that's so prevalent.
I think it's very prevalent. Yeah. And I know some of it comes from because that's the message the church can send. And unfortunately, I just truly believe that all too often the ministry of the church does not look anything like the ministry of Jesus. And when I think of the ministry of Jesus, what he did, he pursued people. And to this day, he still does pursue people. Not just the have your life together, the ducks in a row person, because I do believe he pursues that person. But I believe he's also pursuing the prodigal. He's pursuing the broken, the lost, the dysfunctional, the addicted. I believe that God pursues us. And I got to be honest, that's one of the things that I love about this book. Because this book is all about a guy who, he grew up in a hard neighborhood, and his grandma's praying for him and all this stuff. He grows up in this hard neighborhood. He ends up deciding to kind of take his life a different route, and so he becomes a cop. But he's a cop in an extremely corrupt area. And so he's determined, like, I don't want to be one of the corrupt cops.
Yeah.
And so he's on that track, but then he ends up getting sucked into the corruption. He makes a mistake. He gets investigated by Internal Affairs. He's going to be convicted, and he's going to be going to jail. So what he does, because he got out on bail, he and his wife at the time, they run. So now they're fugitives. So they're running from the law. They go up into Canada, come back down into the States. They're in the mountains, living in the wilderness, renting apartments under assumed names. They're doing all of these different things. And for 22 years, this guy's on the run.
That's a long time.
Yeah, very long time. And while he's on the run, he commits more crimes. He breaks more laws. He ends up that his first wife that he left with, she leaves. He ends up meeting different women, having kids with different women while he's on the run, and just all these different things are happening. But this is the part that sticks out to me that I think sometimes we forget. So this guy, while he's on the run, like he's jumping trains to travel. And while he's jumping trains to travel, he ends up meeting a hobo. And this hobo happens to be a believer and tells this guy, hey, you just got to trust God and turn yourself in. Then he ends up meeting a Catholic priest. And again, under assumed names, just, aliases. He ends up meeting this Catholic priest. And The priest takes him in. He's at this church for a period of time, becomes friends with the priest, and then again, this guy, this Robert, ends up stealing some money, and now he's back on the run again.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. One of the times he's renting an apartment somewhere, and his neighbor is a pastor. And so he would go sit out like on the front steps to have a cigarette or something, and the pastor would come down and visit with him. There's all of these different stories throughout this book. And in my mind, when I read that, what I see is just one more time, over and over and over again, here's a guy who had broke the law. Here's the guy who was continuing to break the law, doing all of these things wrong. And what's God doing?
Pursuing him.
God is pursuing him, because you can see over and over again the different times where there's people in his life that God has placed in his life.
Yeah.
And again, I just think it's such a beautiful story. And then you get to the end, and this is the part for me where the ministry can look different, because sometimes in the church what we want to say is, you got to get saved in the church, or you got to be baptized in the church, or all of these things, and we want it all to happen in the church. This guy's story, I'm telling you what, he's in the wilderness, he's by himself, and God appeared and revealed himself to him like in a, this guy lays a fleece out before the Lord, essentially. And he's by himself in the wilderness, and right there just surrenders his life to God.
That's so cool.
Yeah, man, it's just awesome. And again, to me, it's a picture of God pursuing us,
Yeah, I'm so glad he does.
Oh, no kidding. Man, oh man. But even like as I'm talking, you guys that are listening here and on the radio and online, just be thinking for a second. Think of all the times that God pursued you in your life. I remember, because I did a lot of drugs years ago, sitting in a hotel room all by myself, and I go to put the crank that I was doing and the foil I was doing it on, the bag and all this stuff in the drawer in this hotel room. I open the drawer and lay my drugs in there, and what am I laying the drugs right next to?
A Bible.
Yeah, a doggone Gideon Bible. Mm-hmm. But that to me is another way where, like, I can even see that in my life where God's pursuing me.
Yes.
Yep.
The
first time I ever came to Maranatha was in the old building in Forest Lake here, over by where Cub is now, west of the freeway. I think it was the only time I was ever in that building. I was on a few-day bender on drugs, and friends of mine at the time invited me to go to a play they had there. I'm like the farthest. I'm stealing money. I'm lying. I'm deceiving. I'm all drugged up. But I got invited to this play, and right there, this Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames was like God was pursuing me.
Yes.
Not because I had my suit and my tie and my life was all prim and proper. Not that he doesn't pursue people in that situation. Nothing against that.
Right.
But it's like I was a disaster, and there was God pursuing me. And I just think there's so many people that need to know that God is pursuing them.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're looking for it, you will see it.
Yeah.
Because he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there again, that's what I want to challenge you guys with that are out there. You can feel it's so easy to end up feeling like I'm lost, like I'm too far gone.
Yeah.
I've done too much. I've made too many mistakes. It's just so easy to get caught in that. And it's just, God pursues us.
He does.
He
does. I remember a time when my life was really bad, and my man had left, and he had taken the big bed. And so I was back on my original twin-size bed and laying there trying to go to sleep. And music is a big part of me. Music gets into my bones. And so I would sing because singing could take your mind away from all of the trouble when you're singing. It just would help me not be so focused on the terrible spot my life was in.
Yeah.
And the only song that could come to my mind was a sweet little chorus from my childhood growing up in the church. It's Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. There's just something about that name. And it's simple, but there's truth in it, and it just calmed me.
Yeah.
That was the only song I could think of. And I sang it over and over, weeping, because my life was just a complete disaster.
Yeah. We started, it just reminded me of this, the new song that you brought in to church.
Come, Jesus, come.
Yeah. That's what that reminds me of, is that,
Yeah.
inviting him into, obviously to come back, but into whatever situation it is that we're in.
Yeah, the lyrics, come and turn this around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just but that's the pursuing.
It is.
That constant pursuing that God does. I think for many of us, you had made a comment about if you look for it, if you're looking for the ways that God is pursuing you, and just even stop and think for a second, those of you listening and you guys, seriously stop and think just for a second of the different times where you can see God appearing in your life. Do you know what I mean, James? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you seen, has God just showed up in people and in places with you?
Yeah, I'd say it's been a lot. I'd say vocationally it's been big for me.
Yeah.
Because just with obviously working at the church and then being able to get a job when I was working on campus, and just how I've gained so much from the jobs I worked at. Even a year or two ago, I was working front desk at a hotel, and even that, just being in a secular space with people who are still they're good people to be around, Just I think just the way that jobs have influenced my life has been just the things I learned at that hotel, talking to people and valuing people, and valuing the work I was doing, even though I was just folding laundry half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing here at the church, and just being, really intentional with what I do, and learning that. And then at the housekeeping department I was working at for a couple of years at college, it's the same story. I was learning to still take pride in what I'm doing, even though it's just dusting handrails or something like that. So just I've learned so much from each job I've held, and so I just see God building my character through what I'm doing.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's another picture of him, how he pursues us, and I just think years, I guess it hasn't been years now. Gosh, time goes so fast. A year ago, maybe, I remember Pastor Mike asking me, and for those of you that aren't familiar with Maranatha, so we're from the Chisago Lakes campus. Pastor Mike is our boss. He's the senior pastor of Maranatha, and he preaches here at the Forest Lake campus. And so I was talking to him one time, and he just had said, so you've been doing this for a while now in ministry, and he's like, what would you say what's your thing? What's your heart of ministry? What's your deal? Kind of, and this would be it. I don't think it took me long to answer, to say, I have a heart for the people that feel like they're not good enough, for the people that feel like they don't measure up, for the people that have been rejected and neglected by others, unfortunately, all too often by the church. And the reason I have that heart, I think, is because what we end up doing is we take our experience from people, and we take, whether it's how judgmental people can be, because I think we all understand, and if we're honest, people can be pretty judgmental, right?
Yeah.
And if we take that and how they can reject us and neglect us, and then we immediately we assume that it must be the same with God then.
Yeah.
If the church doesn't want me, or if these people don't want me, why would God? He's God. Why would God want me?
God's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where that heart comes from, that says, wait a minute, that's not who God is.
Right.
That's exactly the opposite of who God is,
Yes.
And that's where that drive to say, man, please know that God is pursuing you.
Yeah. Even in all your mess.
Yeah, and I think even especially in your mess.
Yeah.
I think back to, we've been at the Chisago campus, we've been going through the book of Acts for, I don't know how long it's been now, 3-4 years, something like that we've been going through the book of Acts. And it's been such a fun journey to go through the book of Acts. And one of the things that you learn is you learn about Saul's transformation, the road to Damascus transformation that takes place.
Yes.
And so I look at that as the quintessential example of God's love and how he pursues us.
You're good.
And because here's the deal. This is where, again, let's get rid of the churchy and the religious stuff. And let's just see, when the Lord appeared to Saul, Saul was literally on the road to go and persecute people that were following and believing Jesus.
Yes.
Like somewhere in your head, try and understand that's who God is, right?
Right.
And not only does he pursue him and say, hey, what are you doing? But now he says, I'm going to take you, and in Paul's words, who says, and I'm the worst of all sinners, I'm going to take you, and you are going to write, 2/3 of the New Testament?
A lot of it.
A lot of it. Yeah. And again, sometimes we can forget this stuff. I can think of some people in my life right now. I got a cousin. Man, I got a bunch of them, but this one in particular, and I just want him to come to the Lord so bad, and like for him to know in all of his life circumstances and all of his mistakes, all of the ups and downs, I do believe that God has been pursuing him. And for him to feel that, like, I'm worthy of God to pursue me type of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's just such a drive inside.
You do have a heart for people that feel unworthy.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of that, again, just sharing a little bit because it's our first show for people that might not be familiar with us. I think part of that is because in the world of religiousness, I should not be doing what I'm doing right now. I mean, I just shouldn't be. But because
in man's eyes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
In man's eyes. Yeah. Yeah. That because of the mistakes and circumstances, all of these different things that, even before I got into ministry and even to today, it's like, man, there's no explanation for why it is that I or we get to do what we get to do.
Yeah.
And again, that's where that drive comes from, is because I've experienced what it is to know and understand that even a screw up like me is truly loved by God.
Yeah. You experience the love of God in the midst of your mess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And even people that have it all together, if you don't have or know the love of God, they can feel very lost. They can look very together on the outside and seem to be making the right choices, but without that security of eternity with God, you're lost.
Yeah.
You're lost. And
absolutely.
So God pursues them too.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. He does. Absolutely, he does. Yeah. And I think for us to understand that pursuit. Yeah. And then once you get to know him, again, be in pursuit of that deeper relationship with him. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to moving forward and these different shows that we're going to have coming up. Just thinking about the different topics that we're going to have and guests that we're going to have, books that I want to talk about.
And words that we're going to have.
And all of the different words that we're going to learn. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. I'm very much looking forward to, even already, I'm looking forward to next week. I already know what next week is going to be.
So exciting.
Yeah. It's. You
going to give us a preview?
I am. Oh. Yeah. Well, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about being in pursuit of a better future. That's what we're going to be talking about next week on the show. Yeah. And again, it'll come with a pretty specific kind of message and life experience that brings that message bubbling out in me.
Yeah.
But I'm very much looking forward to doing that.
It's fun.
Yeah.
That's something that other people don't get to see a whole lot of, is the bubbling out of you.
Yeah.
Things start growing inside of you and it bubbles out. Other people do get to see it, but I get a really good view of it.
Doesn't that sound miserable?
No.
You guys?
No, not miserable. It's good. It's a passion inside of you.
It is, yeah. And this is a great opportunity to share what God has done in our lives.
It is.
Yeah, and man, what an honor it is. I just want to remind everybody that, you can listen to this show live every Thursday from noon to 1. Pastor Mike, the senior pastor, he also has a show every Friday from 8 to 9 that he calls Something to Think About. And Pastor Mike's, the thing that he always wants to do and what that show is really about is breaking stereotypes. He likes to shake up religious people that are caught up in that, it has to look right and all that stuff. And he just wants to shake people up. So he has that live show, and we're just excited to be doing more and more here on this radio station and through the podcasts that come out of these.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very fun time. So I want to ask all of you that are listening to, if you enjoy this, please share with people the different podcast links, the YouTube channels. We are from, as we said, Maranatha Chisago Lakes campus. We have 4 services at our campuses every weekend. We have a Saturday 4:30 service, a Sunday 8 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and 11 a.m. All 4 of those services are very similar. And then we have a lot of different things going on throughout the week as well. I want to invite you, if you're interested, check out our website, MaranathaChisago.org. You can find us on Facebook, search Maranatha Chisago Lakes. We have a wonderful YouTube channel, Maranatha Chisago Lakes. We are on Instagram, Maranatha Chisago Lakes. Pretty much anywhere you want to find us specifically, I would encourage you to search for
Maranatha Chisago Lakes.
That would be a good place to start. Absolutely, yeah. And especially to those of you that hear this, and my prayer really is this, that somehow this gets to the ears of the person that feels like they're too far gone. That somehow this tiny little conversation about God pursuing you. And it's not just a warm and fuzzy idea, it's a biblical idea that God pursues us. And he pursues us sometimes in our deepest and darkest times. And that's when we get to see him.
I remember a time when I was very far from God because of things that I had done personally. And I just wanted to be back with God. And so I started going to a Bible study, and I just sat there and didn't say anything. I didn't participate because I didn't feel worthy to do that. And I wanted to pray, but I didn't feel worthy to talk to God. So I made a list of the things that I wanted to pray about, but felt like I couldn't. And then I would just read the list and sit and bawl.
Yeah.
And
he heard those prayers.
He heard me and brought me back in and said, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. He's right there.
He's right there.
Yeah.
My life has had some pretty down spots, pretty sad moments.
We'll have to do a couple shows about all those.
Maybe.
But it's really true. And again, gosh, just to give a little bit of hope to somebody, a little bit of truth. And this is not, like I said, not trying to sell you anything. This is just biblical truth that he does pursue us. He's with us, whether we're on the highest of heights or the lowest of valleys. He's with us. And if this is finding you right there, I want to pray for you real quick. Father, right now, I just ask this, that for each of these that are hearing this message, where God, you are using this to show them you are pursuing them. Lord, I pray right now, in this moment, that you would reveal yourself, God, that you would make your presence known to them, and that they would know your grace, that they would know your love, and God, that you would reveal yourself in a powerful way. Father, would you continue to bring back the prodigals that have walked away and let them know of your love. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks for listening. I hope we get to see you or hear from you again next week.
Thanks for joining In Pursuit with Pastor Bill. We hope you will tune in next Wednesday at noon as the pursuit continues. In Pursuit is a production of WAJC, Your Life Radio, on 88.1 and 91.7 FM. WAJC is owned and operated by Maranatha Assembly of God in Forest Lake, Minnesota. The opinions expressed here aren't necessarily those of the owner.